Hi, my name is Susan Dreyfus, and I'm proud to serve as Secretary of the Department of Social and Health Services. Today you're going to see the faces and hear the stories of 5 courageous people who have moved through mental illness into recovery and are living successfully in communities around the state of Washington. I want to thank them for their courage because stories do matter, and it's important for all of us that have committed our life's work in leadership to make sure that we listen to these stories, that we understand these stories, and that the policies and the practice that we're setting are consistent with what people with mental illness who truly can and do recover, what they need in terms of the kinds of practice and policies that we're putting in place in the state of Washington. The truth is, none of us are immune to mental illness. No one watching this video, including I myself, have not been touched by mental illness, personally within our families, homes, and communities. Sadly, though, stigma does continue. And so it's going to take all of us to continue to listen, to learn, to engage, to be inspired, and to continue in leadership together to have the kind of recovery system in the state of Washington that we would want for ourselves, our own children, families, and communities. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Please take it to heart and lead. Thanks for joining us in this recovery journey.
Someone with a serious mental illness would be, just kind of mental picture, would be someone who can't function on their own and definitely needs a lot of support and a lot of help to kind of get by through life.
There's slower learning than others.
My sister.
Even if we don't mean to, the general population sees people with mental health issues in that movie kind of way. You know, the wild hair and the eyes and, and they're scary.
Some people with mental illness certainly are violent. Some people without mental illness are violent as well. The data shows that people with mental illness are less likely to commit a violent crime than those who are just average, what we would think average citizens.
And the reality is that if we walked down the same street, you wouldn't know that I had a mental illness any more than maybe the person standing next to me.
And the truth of the matter is people with mental health issues are 1 in 4 people in the U.S. population on any given year.
People with mental illness face challenges that are related to their illness. They face challenges, more importantly, from stigma. People believing that they can't do things in the community.
People with mental illness, I believe, do not fully recover. They have good days and bad days and stuff.
Yes, I do feel that people with mental illness do get better because they learn more and they're eager to learn.
People can absolutely recover from mental illness, and that's one of the most exciting things I think about my work today is that people do recover at a much greater rate than they used to 25, 30 years ago.
I've seen it. I've seen that there is a tremendous hope for recovery, and it really depends on the person that has mental illness and the people around them that support them or work with them.
I think one of the most important parts of a recovery attitude is that you don't wait until somebody is all better to declare that they are recovered. And you don't wait until all their symptoms are gone to begin to expect that they can participate in all the things that all of us want to participate in.
And I think it's important to note that recovery is going to look different for each person, but absolutely, recovery not only can happen, but it happens every day. It happens every moment that someone gets up and makes that choice. Today, I'm going to move forward with some part of my life, and that's recovery. And for that, you thank God, and you know that miracles can happen.
I was 29 years old, and I had a complete mental breakdown, including a psychotic episode. But it turns out later I had subsequent breakdowns, and so the diagnosis was later changed to paranoid schizophrenia. I used to surf at the time. I heard this voice say, "Get out of the water." I didn't know if they're talking to me or somebody else, and so I ended up getting out of the water and going home, and these voices were influencing me. And it's disturbing. I was afraid for my life. I thought my neighbor was trying to kill me. And so the only way to save myself was to assault him. And I had another breakdown, and they put me under the Department of Mental Health wing of the prison.
I started really having trouble with mental health issues in high school, near the second half of high school. And I had always been a great student, involved in everything, and really started struggling near the end. Instead of going off to college like all of my friends were and I had planned to do, I ended up spending the next several years going to therapy, in the hospital a lot. Well, just day to day, I mean, emotions were torturous. Nothing made me feel better. I just felt horrible all the time, and I really wanted to be a part of things and be a part of my family and still be a part of my circle of friends, but at the same time I always felt awkward around everybody because I wasn't who I used to be.
You know, I've been through a lot with my family, having drug addiction and stuff like that. And when I got to school, I was also had to deal with a lot of racism. So, you know, my early days in schools, I was being called all kinds of names by parents, the kids. You know, people called it back then was ADHD. And for me, like, I kind of used, like, my family being a part, you know, my issues with focusing in school. I used that as leverage to mess up and get involved in the wrong things, get involved with gangs, selling drugs, all kinds of stuff. And it's kind of like survival of the fittest. And I was scared that, you know, I'd end up in jail and then lose everything.
I didn't want to face the world at all. I didn't want to leave my apartment. I didn't want to get out of my bed. I didn't want to go to work. I didn't want to see my friends. I didn't want to answer the phone. Something that really struck a chord with me is a quote from Abraham Lincoln. I must get better or I will die. I cannot remain here, because he suffered from depression too. And that really, I remember that. I can't stay here. Things are going to have to get better or I'm going to have to die. Things were horrible, and having a diagnosis was a little bit of a relief, to where I could understand why I was having so much trouble.
These are my twin daughters at age 4, and this was before we knew that bipolar disorder would be coming down the line. That's extremely difficult. You become very isolated. You don't talk to neighbors about your child when they're in a psychiatric hospital, because you don't want your child to be isolated or stigmatized or made fun of when they come out of the hospital. So as a family, you start to go into these very dysfunctional, covert ways of being out of love for your child and trying to protect them from something that most people in the world don't understand and is highly stigmatized.